All right, folks. I did a JavaScript Rants intro a month or two ago, but I am just going to start it over. So yeah, I'm finally doing this. We're doing some JavaScript Rants. And basically, it's just off the cuff. I'm just going to be talking about stuff that's happening in the JavaScript world. You're going to get basically 4 or 5 drive-bys every week. The drive-bys are 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm just going to talk about stuff that's happening in the JavaScript world. You get my opinion. I'm not going to have any guests. I might have guests, but I'm not going to have guests every week, every time. This is also going to go out every day, so each drive-by will get its own day. But you can get the Omnibus edition, and that's what this is. So I'm going to record the Omnibus edition to YouTube every week, and then I'll pull it down and split it up and release it as a video. So you can go check out the RSS feed. You can go to devchat.tv, and you can find JavaScript Rants there. You can also go to swag.devchat.tv, and you can get mugs and t-shirts and things like that, all with the JavaScript Rants logo on it. So definitely check it out. I'm going to be playing with the format on this a little bit and seeing how it goes. I may up it from 5 to 7 a week and then do every day instead of every weekday. We'll just have to see what people want. So if you have if you have feedback on any of that stuff, let me know. So anyway, this is the first episode, the intro, just to get you started, give you something to chew on as we get rolling with JavaScript Rants. I don't know if there's anything else to say. So I'll just fill a little bit more time and tell you some of the things that I'm working on these days. The first one is the Get a Coder Job course. Currently in the middle of the pre-launch. You can get it all the way up through September 3rd, which is Monday. And that pre-launch is 50% off. After that, prices go up. I think I'm also going to add a coaching version to that, so you can get one-on-one help periodically with your job search. But I found that I've been able to coach people into a job within 2 weeks to 2 months. So if you've been out there looking for a job for longer than that, I can probably get you there. So definitely check that out. Getacoderjob.com is the easiest way to get it. You can also just go to devchat.tv/shop, and it'll show you all the stuff that I have out there. One other thing that I'm working on, this is something I'm probably going to launch in October-ish, is CodeBadge. Codebadge.org. You can get on the launch list. The idea is that you basically get proof that you're involved in the community. It also is proof that you're out there trying to learn stuff. And what it came out of is I had a lot of people asking me, how do I stay current? And I'd give them some guidelines. I talked to them about how I do it, where I look for information, all of that stuff. And it just turned out that people weren't quite getting it. So instead, what I decided to do is I'd put up CodeBadge. And essentially what it is you can go get the learner badge for any project out there. And I'll get some designers involved and things like that so that we can get awesome badges out there for you. But then if you want to go learn a topic, you can go and look at the courses that we recommend. I'll probably put courses from Pluralsight. I'll put courses that are free. I'll put courses from all over the place. So if you have subscriptions in places, we should have stuff out there. And if not, you can go buy a West Boss course or something. And once you've gone through the process, then you get the learner badge. Once you've built a project with whatever the technology is, then you get a builder badge. If you contribute to the project, either monetarily or via the regular open source on GitHub or something like that, you can do that. And the really cool thing is I want to hook it up so that if you put in like a pull request on Webpack, then you can link to the pull request as proof of why you got the badge. And that way people can go and they can say, okay, they've got the builder badge. Here's where they built the thing. Here's the contributor badge. Here's how they contributed to the thing. Here's the core team badge or the commit bit badge or whatever we call that. And, here's how we look at their contributions on GitHub or GitLab or wherever you're at. So anyway, those are things that I'm working on. CodeBadge is currently on Kickstarter. So if you go to codebadge.org, I'm going to get that link up here in a minute. But you can get on the launch list right now. And then we will get that rolling on Kickstarter and hopefully get it funded. And that way we can work on it here. And I think that'll be a ton of fun. And I'm also hoping to create badges for things like conferences. So conference organizers get an organizer badge and attendees get an attendee badge. Speakers get a speaker badge. You kind of get the idea. There are a lot of ways that people are involved in coding, and I want to reward all of it. And I want to be able to create badges for it. And then you can put the badge on your website, and it's essentially a browsable resume type thing where you can get an idea of what people have. So anyway, that's what I'm working on, and that is going to be episode 1 on the Omnibus edition, or on the regular edition. So this is going to be the second episode this week. I want to talk a little bit about the Babel 7 release. Now, Babel is a really cool, essentially fixed ES5 type project. In fact, I think it was originally called 6 to 5. And we had Sebastian McKenzie come on the show and talk about it. And then we also have had Henry Zhu come on and talk about it. And it's a terrific system. It's a build system that will take your ES 2017, ES 2018, whatever the proposals are, and compile them down to whatever your browser will run. That used to be ES5 or ECMAScript 5. If you're not familiar, maybe I'll do an episode on TC39. But anyway, it compiles it to JavaScript that your browser will run. And the browsers are starting to pick up some of the later JavaScript features. So it's not necessarily at that level anymore. But the other thing that's really great about Babel is that it's become sort of the sounding area for proposals to TC39, to the ECMAScript standard, so that they can see what it looks like. So essentially, Babel builds the transpiler for whatever feature somebody proposes to put it into JavaScript. And so then we can see what it looks like. And anyway, you can pull in plugins that emulate the behavior. And that's really helpful too, because then what happens is they can refine the proposals, or they can look at the proposal and say, why would anyone do this if we have this other proposal that's better? And you get a real feel for that. And so congrats to Henry and the rest of the Babel team. It's awesome. It looks like Henry was actually out in Salt Lake City, which is my neck of the woods. And they were at React Rally, which is put together by Jameson Dance, who's a former JavaScript Jabber panelist. And anyway, terrific stuff. So congrats to them. That is awesome. Now, a few things that I am just going to throw out there. And most of these I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. One is they're dropping support for unmaintained versions of Node, which makes a ton of sense to me. It lightens their maintenance burden. And, if you really need it, basically, from what I understand, they're not going to just cut those off. But what they are going to do is they're not going to test against those versions. So if you're on Node 4, Node 5, or O.10, O.12, any of those, it's just not going to work, or it may stop working. So just keep that in mind. They are also getting rid of the yearly presets, which I think is interesting. And then finally, the proposal plugins are going to be dash proposal instead of dash transform. So if you've been pulling in projects, and really, I like a lot of this because what they're doing is they're building consistency with the way you talk about the proposals from TC39 that go into Babel. So you can check that out. And then one last thing that I saw that I was super excited about is it looks like that they've added TypeScript support. And I love me some TypeScript. So anyway, lots of stuff. I love seeing what's going on there. One thing that I really just want to plug quickly with this and some of the other open source projects is if you go to babeljs.io, you'll see a donate button at the top. And I've had conversations with Henry and Sebastian, some of these other guys that have supported the project over the last number of years. And they spend a ton of their own time doing this. And I don't know what they bring in for contributions. Hopefully it's enough to really make them happy about the time that they're spending beyond the fulfillment of working on a cool project. But you never know. And open source sustainability is such to where I sometimes have my doubts. So if you're using Babel, and you probably are, just go over to babeljs.io and hit that donate button. In fact, I will put a link in the show notes just so that people can find it. But anyway, it's an open collective. You can just donate to that, and it is awesome. So anyway, oh, and it says here that there is a balance. So anyway, yeah, they're nowhere close to their estimated annual budget. So definitely go in and send them some money. All right. Episode number 3. So episode number 3, we're going to talk a little bit about finding a job, since that's what I've kind of had my neck into lately. And one of the things that I have run into with this, and this is purely career advice if you're looking for a job, is I have people all the time asking me why they can't find a job. And there are usually two stages of things where they get stuck, right? And it's not when they're getting the job offer, well, I get stuck on negotiating, because at that point you work things out. You may not get the best deal you get, but you got a job, right? And people tend to be less concerned about that. If you are looking for a good resource on that, then go to Find Fearless Salary Negotiation by Josh Duty. It's terrific, and it'll walk you through all that stuff. Generally, people are getting stuck on, I can't get an interview. In other words, they're sending their resume around and they're not getting interviews, or they get in for the interview and they're not getting any job offers. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard to figure that out. And the other thing is that we're getting more and more people coming into the programming field. And so at least I see companies asking for senior people all the time, and then they run into a snag, right? The junior people run into a snag finding a job. And generally it's, I can't get interviews, or I'm not getting job offers. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the interviews today and just walk through some of the issues there, mainly because people don't understand what the problem is. They think, oh, I just need to send my resume to more people. And that's not the problem. That's not your problem at all. The problem is that you are entering the job search process from the employer standpoint at the wrong place. So what happens is, and I've explained this on some webinars and things like that, but I'll just walk through it real quick, and I've been the hiring manager, so I know how this works, and I've talked to several hiring managers, and this pretty much, falls in line with what they talk about. So most hiring managers don't think about the process of finding somebody. They just go look until they find somebody. And so they'll start out with people they know. The last full-time job that I had before I went freelance, there were like 4 people on that team that had all been on the same team, the team before that, the employer before that, the employer before that. And the reason is because they hired the hiring manager from that team. And then when he needed a new developer, he just went to the people he knew could do the job. And so, yeah, more than half the team all came from Ancestry.com. And, before that, a good chunk of that team came from the place they were all worked at before that. So if you really want to get a job, your best bet is to get to know the hiring manager. And I know that that's easier said than done. And I have processes lined up on getacoderjob.com on how to get noticed by some of these folks. But one of the things, and this is how I came into that job, was after that's all been, handled, and they still can't find anybody, they start talking to their team. Okay, we need to hire somebody. We need them to be able to do this kind of stuff. And they go to the people that they really rely on, especially, but to the whole team, and they say, who do you know? Because it's way easier, again, to have somebody say, hey, this guy is awesome, so bring him on. And so that's how I came in. I interviewed. Incidentally, I had like 2 years experience under my belt, almost didn't get hired because of that. And ultimately, I got hired because I had gone out of my way to do other things to build my portfolio. And so they took a chance on me, and it worked out. And I talk about how to build a portfolio. In fact, that's one of the first things that I tell people to do. The first chapter is 3 things to do to jumpstart your career search. So anyway, just go check out the book, and that'll get you off to the races. But anyway, so if you can't get to know the hiring manager, then get to know people on his team, or get to know people that she knows, or however that works out, right? But you have to get on their radar, or on the radar of people that they're going to talk to, saying, I'm trying to hire, I can't find anybody. If those fail, then they go to kind of the broader community if they're involved in it. So any online forums, users groups, etc., that they're involved in, they may come out to a few of them. So just being around and being able to meet them in person that way is a terrific way to go. And then finally, after all of that fails, that's when they list somebody. And then list the job on the job board. And if the job board fails, then they typically will either go to a recruiter, or they'll rethink whether or not they need to hire somebody. So if you're coming in, finding the job on a job board, you're applying to the job, you're in there with hundreds of other resumes. And the problem is that then they're just going to go through, and they're going to go through the pile until they have enough cherry picked out to actually go for it. Most hiring managers I know, if they get more than 20 or 30 resumes, they're not even going to look at them all. They're just going to start at the top of the stack, which are the newest ones that just came in, which means your timing has to be pretty good. And then they're just going to go until they have 5 or 6 people lined up for an interview, and hopefully they get a really good quality candidate out of the mix. And if you can come in by knowing somebody, you can jumpstart the whole line. Another way to do this is just get noticed like at a conference as a speaker or some of these other things that kind of make you stand out. Then you just have to be at the same event they're at or get to know people in the community. So if you're looking for a job locally, you find a local group or start a local group. If you are looking for a job remotely, then you need to be involved in some of these remote communities and make sure that people know that you're available for hire. And then make sure that you have a portfolio out there for people to find and website projects that you can put on your resume. So anyway, that's pretty much the thought process there. But yeah, if you're stuck not getting interviews, that's your problem. You need to update your resume so that it has stuff on it. And then you need to make sure that you are getting to know these hiring managers so that you can tailor your resume for what they're looking for. And that's pretty much it. If you want the whole guide on how to do this, go to getacoderjob.com. Like I said, you can get the videos. Videos are 50% off until September 3rd, 2018. The book is also 50% off if you're just looking for the ebook, again, until September 3rd, 2018. You'll get a rough draft of the book. The videos are probably going to be final versions, unless I realize that I left something out, and then I may re-record a couple of them. But you're going to get quality content that just walks you through how to do this. I know a lot of people get stuck, and it sucks. But there's a way to do this, and most people can figure out enough of how to code to be dangerous enough to get these jobs. And really what it comes down to is just the way that you present yourself. So I may come back later and talk about, okay, now that you've been getting interviews, how do you get, in fact, I'll do that next week, but how do you get them to get you a job offer? And I have some advice on that. It's relatively simple, but again, you've just got to be out there and you've got to be able to show them that you're the kind of person that they want to hire. And that's the trick in the interview, and to some extent in getting the interview, but mostly in the interview. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this particular video, and yeah, look for another video tomorrow. All right, so this is episode 4, JavaScript Rants. We are clicking through these. I'm enjoying doing this. One other thing that I wanted to talk about here, and this is something that I'm kind of weird, I guess, in the way that I like this stuff, but I just found out that Johnny 5 was released as version 1. And so, yeah, I guess it's release week. Hey, folks. But anyway, I'm really excited about it. Congrats to those guys. If you're not involved in IoT, I'm not going to say that you have to get involved, but it's definitely one of those fields that you're going to want to be aware of, because what we're seeing is especially with JavaScript, it's expanding to a whole bunch of other areas. So we see it in mobile. I've seen people write like Apple TV apps in React Native, or some native script, some of these other systems. In fact, I had somebody email me about Ruby on Nintendo Switch, which I thought was cool. But anyway, so you're seeing it expand all these areas. And over the next while, I think we're going to see it expand in a couple of different areas. I think it's just a matter of time, the way JavaScript has become sort of this ubiquitous language, before we start seeing more platforms in AI adopt JavaScript. Another area that I'm seeing it in right now is VR and AR. And so you see that in like web VR and things like that. And then the other one that I'm seeing quite a bit of is IoT. And so we're seeing a lot more IoT out there. I'm also seeing some adoption of like Nerves, which is an Elixir library and things like that. But there's movement there. And so, I'm not going to extol the virtues of Johnny 5. I've played with it a little bit. I don't know it very well. But if you're looking to have some career mobility in the future, I think this is one area that you should consider. And Johnny 5 is 1.0, and they've announced that they're going to support the current long-term support versions of Node, which are 6, 8, and 10, I believe, at this point. So hang in there. Definitely go check it out. You can get into it for relatively cheap. I mean, you go pick up a Raspberry Pi and some servos and stuff for 20, 30, 40 bucks. So definitely go check that out and see what you can do with it. Really, really fun project. And like I said, it's worth checking out. So congrats to the Johnny 5 guys. And yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, definitely go check out IoT. If you're not going to, then I recommend that you do figure out either mobile, AI, or AR VR, because I think more and more we're going to see the web platform merge with some of these other technologies, and you're going to have those skill sets to move up. So anyway, enough of that soapbox. I'm going to get off it. And episode 5 of JavaScript Rants, we're going to talk about this week's JavaScript Jabber episode. So the one that was released this week was the Ramda episode that we recorded with Christine Legg. Christine was referred to me by Developer Week in San Francisco, and I didn't get to see her talk, but it was really interesting just to dive in and talk a little bit about Ramda and what it is and what it's about. Now, Ramda is a functional programming library for JavaScript. And when I say functional programming, it's kind of in the vein of things like Lodash. So it's a competitor to that, right? It's not a complete functional paradigm inside of JavaScript, but it does espouse a lot of the ideas behind functional programming and give you a lot of those nice collection property functions that you're looking for arrays and things like that and objects. So it's definitely worth checking out. She was a relatively new developer, so we talked a little bit about that too. And so if you're interested, Ramda's been around for a while, but if you're interested in functional programming and some of the ideas around that it's definitely worth a listen. And that's the JavaScript Jabber episode for this week. And that's Ramda with Christine Legg. And Legg is spelled Legge. So anyway, definitely go check that out. I do see I have one viewer at this point. Awesome. Good to see you. Anyway, so just a quick reminder on how to get this show. You can go get it at, I think I have jsrants.com. But you can also just go subscribe on iTunes and things like that. And like I said before, I'm going to have an Omnibus edition, so you can get it once a week, or you can go check it out at and get one every day. So however you want to see them, that's how you're going to get them. I am going to put these on the All JavaScript podcast feed on so where you're probably getting JavaScript Jabber and my JavaScript story. And anyway, so you should be able to see that there. I am going to release it daily on there, not weekly. So if you're looking for that kind of content, let me know. This particular Omnibus edition will probably be released next Monday. I'm trying to decide on a Monday or Friday release, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, check it out, and we will be back at you next week with more rants.